Hello. How's it going, people? Welcome to the stream. Welcome. It's Wednesday. It's midday, and obviously, since I have time off from work, I have 2 weeks vacation pretty much. I have somewhat of a chance actually go live during the day and try and do some streams as well. And of course, today, this evening, Arsenal are facing Crystal Palace in Carabao Cup, and yesterday we did the stream. I was thinking about doing the stream in terms of that, but it went kind of got sidetracked by the fact that we talked about Thierry Henry, we talked about Mikel Arteta and other players, Odegaard match interview what Arteta conducted before the game. So we didn't get too much chance to talk about the Crystal Palace, about the game in general. So what I thought was today, yes, midday, it's almost, to come here and just talk about it. So here we are. So if you have any thoughts you want to share, you want to discuss, leave them down in the live chat or comments down below. This will be a shorter stream than usual. Obviously it will be for about half an hour, 40 minutes for compared to the usual over about an hour, if not more, most of the time. So it is what it is. But yeah, smash thumbs up, like the thing, subscribe if you're new around here, and to be honest, let's get straight into it. Let's talk about Crystal Palace and everything. And Arsenal against Crystal Palace recently have been some tough games. I'm not gonna lie, I'm very sorry that the light is doing my camera in, but I cannot do anything about that. Arsenal versus Crystal Palace recently have been tough ones, have been tough games. This season Crystal Palace are not doing that great, because to see Crystal Palace even in Premier League table, we have to scroll down till basically relegation zone. Last weekend they won a game against Brighton, which did them well, I'm not gonna lie, which did them well, fantastically well to say the least, and they managed to get out of the relegation zone. They managed to go 4 points clear, which is massive for them, I'm not gonna lie, which is hella massive for them. They only have 3 wins, they have 7 draws and 6 losses, which, not gonna lie, based on how they played against Brighton and how they have been playing in the recent weeks, doesn't kind of characterize what they've been all about. Because if I was looking that game, Brighton versus Crystal Palace, and you asked me, if it was the first game I was watching, you asked me where they are in the table, I would say they're about 10th, about 11th, somewhere like that, but they are very, very low. Obviously, they had a very rough start of the season. However, if we look at Crystal Palace's games in recent weeks and in general this season, they just drew 2-2 to Man City, a depleted Man City. They beat Brighton 3-1. They beat Ipswich, who are one of their relegation battles they had against, 1-0 away. They drew against Newcastle, drew against Palace. Then they lost to Fulham with 10 men. And again, they drew. They are drawing most of the games. In the previous round, in Carabao Cup, they actually beat Aston Villa away 2-1, which is very uncharacteristic for that as well, because Unai Emery is a very heavy-oriented cup coach in a way. It's no wonder that he has won Europa League with Sevilla 3 times in a row. He has won Europa League with Villarreal, and obviously also did well with Villarreal in Champions League, whilst at the same time not doing that good compared to cups in the league. And that is what Unai Emery is all about. So that was a bit of a shock. And obviously as well, they beat Spurs, one of the 3 wins they have had this season. So Tottenham have had like a roller coaster ride throughout the whole season so far. However, as you can see, in the last 4 or 5 games, they have actually picked up some form. Obviously, they beat Palace, then they drew against Wolves, they lost to Fulham, okay, 2-0, but Fulham are fantastic this season, I'm not gonna lie. Then they drew against Villa again, they drew against Newcastle, they beat Ipswich, they drew against Man City, and they beat Brighton 3-1 in the most recent performance, and they looked very damn good. I'm not gonna lie, they looked pretty darn good. So out of the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 games, they have lost once, they have drawn 4 times, and they have won 3 times. So they are actually in a very decent form. And today they face Arsenal, they face us of course, and obviously on the weekend they face Arsenal as well, which is kind of ironic in that regard. So that begs the big question: what's gonna happen? How hard Crystal Palace is gonna rotate, how hard Arsenal will rotate, because let's be real, Crystal Palace are not a bad team. They have pretty good players. They have obviously Lerma, they have Munoz, Dean Henderson of course, also Gehi of course, Eze, Ismail Sa, Mateta isn't the worst, but of course one of the biggest talking points in a way for this game also will be Eddie Nketiah, because he's finally returning to Arsenal once again. So that will be a big question: will Eddie Nketiah start? because, including myself, I'm a bit of a conspiracy theory merchant in that regard. That usually when we sell a player, attacker, towards a rival team per se, they tend to score against us. Yes, most of the time they don't do well against us, like Leno usually and everything. When we score against him, we say, yes, Arsenal agent, once a gooner, always a gooner. But ultimately, they tend to do very well at Arsenal because there's that extra motivation, extra something to prove, especially for against Mikel Arteta in these days, how he's treating certain players. So if Nketiah starts, there definitely will be something to it, something extra more added to it, and it will be very, very interesting to see how that goes and how that develops. In Carabao Cup in general, they are doing pretty darn good. We just talked about this. They beat Aston Villa while Arsenal had Bolton, which was, no, Preston, yeah, 3-0, which was pretty darn easy. And before that, they beat, now if I only could find, Crystal Palace. Crystal Palace in the third round had nobody. That's mad. Oh no, they had QPR and they beat them 2-1. Arsenal had, of course, Bolton, which they beat 5-1. So Arsenal, to be honest, still quarterfinals have had one of the easiest schedules, the easiest arguably if you come to think of it, compared to Crystal Palace, where they, in the means of things, had to play Aston Villa, and Arsenal, when they play Aston Villa, especially under Unai Emery, are struggling quite hard, of course. And if we look at even at quarterfinals, the teams that are left in the Carabao Cup, besides Arsenal and Crystal Palace, there's Newcastle, Brentford, Spurs, United, Southampton, and Liverpool. Okay, cool. I would expect Arsenal to win today's game. There's no shadow about that. Hopefully we will do it and everything. Obviously, if we go through, there will be some teams we will have to fight against. The teams will not be easy ones, because I assume Liverpool are going to beat Southampton. Hence, there's a chance that we could get Liverpool in semi-finals. Spurs against United, no matter who we're going to get, it will be a very interesting game. If either the teams go through, we get one of them. If we go through, it will be a hell of a game in general if it happens. And of course, Newcastle, Brentford. Newcastle know how to play against us. They know. Eddie Howe knows how to set up a team against Arsenal, how to nullify us, how to hit us on counter. Isak is on a decent form as well if we manage to face him. Spurs, North London derby, can knock it. United as well. I don't think it will be as easy as people may think, maybe, especially if it's in a way. Unai Emery, lol. Amorim has already been to Emirates, and we saw what happened. He pretty much nullified Arsenal on the open play. We won only due to set pieces. And that also comes to the fact that we haven't scored a goal from open play as an Arsenal for 3 games in a row in Premier League. We scored 2 against United, both were corners. We scored 1 against Fulham, that was a corner. And we didn't score against Everton. So it's not looking that good. It's generally not looking that good. So if we beat Crystal Palace today and we get into semi-finals, no matter what team we will face, I generally believe it will be a struggle. And you do actually expect that in semi-finals. But if we get United, we will actually play United 4 times in a season. In Carabao Cup semi-finals, in FA Cup, we are playing mid-January, and of course in the league. So there's actually a chance that we might play Man United 4 times this year alone, which kind of seems mad because you don't often see those things. You genuinely don't often see these things. So all depends on that. But ultimately, if we turn our attention to our own game, which we're gonna play against Crystal Palace, I'm not expecting an easy game. Obviously, I think also lots and lots of things depend on how much Arsenal will rotate the squad, who's gonna play, who's gonna replace who. Same goes for also Crystal Palace. How heavy will they rotate? Because one of the things I'm in a way a believer in is the fact that if a team is struggling in the league, they're mid-table, somewhere around that place or even a bit lower, they should also try and prioritize the cups. And if that is the case, there's a big possibility that maybe Crystal Palace will put out a stronger team, and then on the weekend when we play them again at Selhurst Park, they will put a bit weaker team, maybe the same levels, but they will rotate a bit more again. So I don't expect an easy game. It also depends what Crystal Palace is gonna do. Because in the last few games, it has been against Everton, Fulham, of course, against United in a way, even against, not as much against Monaco, but the teams have shown how to nullify Arsenal on the pitch from open play in general. And on top of that, they have showed how to deal with us in corners. Yes, United were shambles on corners, let's be real. But Monaco showed everyone how to nullify us on corners pretty much. Everton did that as well to maximum extent. Even Fulham did that to a certain amount. So there is also that ability that if we start to struggle even at home, also the set pieces won't save us. So I'm expecting a tough physical game. I'm not sure whether Crystal Palace will sit back, but I think this is the case where Crystal Palace actually might do it. They might actually not go for it because they have the quality at the back. They could sit there, they could defend, they could do their thing, and if the game ends in a draw after 90 minutes plus extra time, added time of course, it doesn't go to extra time. It goes straight to penalties, and then more or less it's all to keepers and it's anybody's game. And that again is a big worry for Arsenal in my opinion, because if it goes to penalties, it's no more per se in Arsenal's hands. It's also it kind of is in hands of Crystal Palace on what they do. If they score, if Dean Henderson, for example, if he plays, saves the shots, it's pretty much straight obvious that Raya is gonna play because Norberto Neto is cup side. Maybe Arteta will play Setford or someone like that, maybe. Because there are some rumors and reports that Arsenal are using still Dauman in training, the 14-year-old. Of course, Setford, I just mentioned, he's also in the training with the main team. So there's a chance that Arsenal actually might rotate quite heavily. And the big question is whether it's going to happen or not. That is the big question ultimately, because if it happens, we could be looking at a very long and very tough game, which I actually don't want to happen. I want something in terms of Arsenal score 3 quick goals, put the game to bed in the first half, and then see the game out, because obviously in 4 days we actually play them again, away. So that generally will be the toughest one of them lot. So it depends. It solely depends, but I'm expecting a very tough and physical game in a way. I think they will have tactics set up in a way to nullify Arsenal, which is actually not that hard to do. If you nullify our right side, we get nullified to maximum extent, and then we have the deer in headlights look, and it's very hard for us to express ourselves and create anything on the pitch. So that is a bit of a worry, I'm not gonna lie. That is a bit of a troublesome situation for Arsenal, unless they discover a new way to score besides set pieces. Because let's be real, against United as well, we didn't have a great game. Yes, people who look at stats at XG will say, look, but Arsenal had nearly 2 XG. We had 1.86 XG if I'm not mistaken. But if you kind of look in deep dive into that XG, only 0.3 XG was from open play. 1.6 XG nearly we had from corners, and you could actually see that on the pitch as well. From open play, we didn't create that much. We had a few half chances, but we couldn't bury them, of course. And then we created some stuff from corners. And on Man United on corners were absolutely shocking. So if Crystal Palace are taking the last few games as a blueprint how to nullify us, we might be in for a very frustrating and very tough game. And obviously, I don't expect to lose this game because this is Arsenal. We should be winning this game. But based on the form we have been in recently, the fact that we drew against Everton, the struggles of course, against Fulham again, it could get ropey. It generally could be ropey. I don't want to lose any of these 2 games, of course, and Arsenal want to win both of them. But there is a possibility that Arsenal might come short-handed in one of those situations. And I've seen people ask each other on social media, which game would you rather win, which game would you rather lose, the Carabao Cup or the Premier League game? Because if Premier League is done, we should focus on the Cups. Maybe we should focus on both. But it doesn't matter because I will be annoyed either way, in my opinion. If we lose Carabao Cup, win Premier League, I will be pissed off. If we win Carabao Cup game, lose in Premier League, I will be the same level pissed off. Because that shouldn't happen at Arsenal. We have a squad good enough to win these games. Depth is a different story. Because with the money all spent and the fact that we are maybe actually gonna play players like Manieri, Aiden Heaven, Dauman, Tommy Setford in goal, that again is not a good look. That genuinely is not a good look for Arsenal. And all this comes down to numerous transfer windows, numerous situations, and I'm kind of scared about this. I'm genuinely kind of scared because if we rotate quite a bit and we don't get it right, it could be shambolic. Because Arteta has been accused, including myself, for the fact that he's throwing all these Carabao Cups and FA Cups in the bins every single year. And to be honest, rightly so in a way, because most of the time we go out in third or fourth round to teams like Southampton, to teams like West Ham. Then we go to play a Liverpool, we play a draw at Anfield, and we come home. We come to the Emirates where we have a very good, actually recent record against Liverpool. Yet Jurgen Klopp beats us 3-1 with his under 20 team pretty much. So it's a very hit and miss for me at the moment with Mikel Arteta, because he's starting to show that we are starting to struggle, and he doesn't have solutions, which is very bad, and it's very worrying. But ultimately, it's all left up to the chance, I think. It will be a tough game. I don't expect an easy game where it will be like Arsenal will be free-flowing in the attack. I think we will be very dangerous against their counters, because Eze, Sarr, Mateta, they will run at us. And Nketiah as well will run at us, don't get me wrong. And to some extent, I think we might concede actually on a counter, because I think Arteta will rest either Saliba, either Gabriel. He's gonna rest one of the two. More specifically, I think he's gonna rest Gabriel because he just recently come back from a small knock. He needs a time off, so most likely Kiwior is gonna play left center back. Saliba will be there as the solid rock, as the anchor in the team, so to install the calmness, coolness, and level-mindedness in the backline. But there, we might see a backline of Skelly, maybe Kiwior, Saliba, and Timba. If Timba cannot play, then it actually might be aid in heaven. One thing I'm gonna tell you for sure, I don't want to see Thomas Partey as a right back. That I'm telling 100% certain I am, that I don't want to see Thomas Partey as a right back, because if I see it again, I will lose it again. He's not a right back. Because as soon as we start to make shift these positions, we start to make shift these players, play them out of positions, left, right, center. As soon as we play right back as a left back, I mean Timber here. As soon as we play our best midfielder arguably this season as a right back, and I mean Partey here, we start to struggle. As soon as Odegaard is out, we have Manieri, who we could give a chance, but we don't. We all of a sudden decide to play Merino as a 10. We decide to play Havertz drifting in there as a 10, Trossard as a 10. We start to struggle. And that is a big worry. And I think Arteta is panicking, really. He panicked against Everton, we saw that. He panicked against when Odegaard was injured, and it basically did us more harm than good. We realized that as soon as one of our main guys, Saka, Odegaard, goes down injured, and he's done for out for an extended period of time, Arteta doesn't have a solution, despite the fact that he loves to sign these players who are like Swiss Army knife type of players who can fit at multiple positions and everything. They are not masters of a certain position. Because for me personally, at least down the spine of the team, goalkeeper, both center backs, number 6, and a striker per se, should be specialists in their position. And what I mean by that is a center back that plays center back. He doesn't play anywhere else. 6 who is a 6 and he doesn't play right back. Striker who is a striker and he isn't a left winger, he's in a number 10, he's a makeshift something in between, and he doesn't excel at anything. And that for me is a big worry, because the spine of the team in general is kind of unbalanced. The team as a whole is unbalanced. The midfield is unbalanced, attack is unbalanced, defense is, as well due to injuries, is very heavily unbalanced in a way as well. If you ask me, the fact that if in the beginning of the season I was looking at the team and saying, yes, we lack attack, we haven't signed attackers. Yes, midfield is a bit of a 50-50, one dodgy one. But when I looked at defense, we had the most depth. And now, despite the most depth in that position, we are actually struggling in that position. It's not boding well for me personally. It genuinely is not boding well with me personally. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, Nathan. Unexpected live stream. Basically, I have until December 30th, with Christmas in between and everything, I have time off work. I took a vacation so I can relax. So next week I have whole free and everything as well. So I have a chance to sometimes stream during days as well, because everyone's at work or school or wherever, and so I'm home alone and I have a chance. So that's great in a way. I'm not gonna lie. Big up Nathan, big up my guy, big up. But yeah, this will be a tough game no matter what, no matter how heavily Arsenal rotate, no matter how heavily Crystal Palace rotate. This Crystal Palace game will be a struggle. I'm expecting a struggle game. I'm expecting some sort of a level game like we had against Everton. Maybe not to that degree, because I don't think Crystal Palace will set up to defend as much as Everton did, but definitely we will be struggling to a certain extent. Maybe it will just be to a certain point. Because Arsenal need to start doing what they did 2 seasons ago, blitz teams early. Score a quick goal in the first 10 minutes and see what unravels. Score quick 2 goals in the first 15-20 minutes and just start to control the game. Because if we don't score in these first minutes, because we push hard in the first 5-10 minutes, we create about 3, 4, sometimes even 5 good chances to score, and we don't finish them, afterwards we go flat. In a way, it feels like we go hella flat, we get kind of discouraged by the misses, and then the game gets very stale, and it basically gets nitty gritty to a level where Arsenal actually fall short. They generally fall short, so that is a bit of a worry for me, if you ask in that regard. But yeah, tough game. It will be physical, but I expect Arsenal to win. I'm gonna leave it at that, to be honest. I'm generally gonna leave it at that. I'm expecting Arsenal to win the game today. I kid you not. I'm very heavily expecting Arsenal to win the game. And if we look at the starting 11, I would start David Raya, I'm not gonna lie, because this is a very important game for Arsenal this season. Arguably the most important game this season, given that we are in a cup tie where we actually we have a chance to go through and progress through. We could start Tommy Setford in goal, but for this occasion, it depends. It really heavily depends on who Arteta decides to put in front of him. Because I think that Arteta will give a time off for Gabriel since he has just come back from injury. So I think this will be the center back duo Arsenal will face. Now, since Arteta doesn't like to play Tierney as a left back, and I think Timber most likely will be a right back, or he might not actually play at all, and bear with me here, I think left back is gonna be Miles Lewis-Skelly. I have to give him that. I think he will be the left back in this game. The right back position for me is up to grabs, because I'm gonna tell this again, and I hope people in the back row can hear me. I don't want to see Thomas Partey as a right back. I'm telling that right now. I don't want to see Thomas Partey as a right back. No chance in hell, no sorry. So that basically leaves Jurriën Timber and Arsenal's odd one, Aiden Heaven. And this is the big question. Do Arsenal play Timber or do they play Heaven? In my opinion. And for me personally, maybe we could start Timber, get the game done by halftime, and then play somebody else. That could be the case. And I think Timber is actually gonna start. I think he's gonna go with the back line he just had in the previous game, minus Gabriel, so that could actually be the case. So this would be my back line. Midfield will be a very interesting one. For me personally, the midfield should look like this. Ethan Vanieri, I think Arteta will go with something like this, in my opinion, genuinely. I think Arteta might go with a midfield who looks like this. I genuinely believe Arteta will do this midfield because Jorginho has played 2 games for a full 90 in the Cups. So I think he's going to stick with that. He has been in Cups pretty decent so far. Hasn't let him down. So I believe that Arteta will start Jorginho in the 6. I would start Ethan Vanieri in this game. I want to see him start the game more, and I want to see what he's all about, because he has played 2 full 90s in the Cups against Preston, against Bolton. He has done quite well against them. 90% of the time when he comes on for the last 10 to 20 minutes in Premier League, he also does very, very good. So I think this could be a very good time to actually try him out as a starter role against a Premier League side in the Cup. Because no matter how you look at it, Arsenal should be beating Crystal Palace. So this could be a good trial run for Ethan Vanieri if he wants to start this position. That is the big thing. Because, see, you say Timber needs a rest at some point. And I agree. I totally agree with that. But for Arsenal to rest Jurriën Timber, it kind of means that Arsenal must start either Thomas Partey as a right back, which I don't want to see whatsoever, or the biggest thing is we actually should, then Arsenal might be playing, see, Aiden Heaven is not in the game. He's not here. Aiden See, he's not here. He's not in this position. So the two options for me. Oh, Nichols or Heaven, exactly, but none of them are here, so that's why I cannot put them in. That is the big thing. Okay, I'm gonna do. There is no Nichols. Am I trip? There, yeah, there is no Nichols, so I cannot do this. For me, I would start Nichols most likely as a right back. That is the big thing. I might do it like this actually. Let's assume that is Nichols, okay? Let's assume that is Nichols from Arsenal, just for the sake of him being there. Now, going back to midfield, I think this will be the midfield Arteta will play. I think that is actually a pretty decent midfield for Arsenal to play overall, and I think it should do the job. Now, it all depends also what's the midfield for Crystal Palace, whether it's going to be Lerma, whether it's going to be somebody else. So, for me, I think Crystal Palace most likely will put out a midfield of Hughes, Lerma, and Eze. And I think that will be a very tough matchup for Merino and Jorginho in general, and Ranieri as well to play against Lerma and everything, and Gehi specifically. So that could be the case. Now, if we look at our attack, this is where it goes very rogue in a way. I would start Trossard at the left. I would start, as much as I hate to say this, by the way, Jesus down the middle. Sorry. Jesus is, I actually would start Sterling and Jesus down the middle. I'm not sure whether it's gonna be good enough though. That is the big thing. We are playing in quarterfinals of Carabao Cup against the Premier League side. Yes, they're struggling, but in the recent times they are in a very decent form. They haven't lost a game the last 5-6 games. The last loss they have held was against Fulham, 2-0. The rest of them have been a draw or a win, and that includes draws against City, against other teams. And that is the thing, see? Nichols needs a break. We cannot have this, so it means Nichols must play there. And if Jesus starts, I'm not watching the game. I totally understand it. I genuinely do understand it. But what you're gonna do, you're gonna play Havertz there and run him into the ground. Because as much as we might not rate Havertz, as much as Havertz wastes his chances, he doesn't do things properly, he cannot score on a consistent basis, he feels like he's half asleep on the pitch, he's like moonwalking and everything. Sleepwalking, not moonwalking, sorry. We don't have a backup for him. So, on occasion, Jesus has to start. That is the big thing. We have spent 800 million on the transfer window. We have signed countless players that are not good enough, and we are now struggling for backups for the main guys. So we are now in this predicament in a way, where we are struggling quite hard to actually put an 11 with players in a way that we actually are comfortable with the starting 11 against a certain team. Because in Premier League, that is one thing. We all know Odegaard, Saka, Havertz, players like that, Rice and everything. In cups, that is the big thing. Would rather play with 10 men than Jesus. Yeah, that is the thing. And now I'm generally looking at this team. Raya, Nichols, Saliba, Kivior, Skelly. So defensive line more or less should be good enough, I think. Midfield, Jorginho, Merino, and Ranieri maybe desires a bit more, but I'm not sure as of yet. And the attack is the biggest worry for me, because those are guys who are struggling quite heavily. No matter who you put instead of Trossard, either it's Trossard or Martinelli, they both are struggling heavily this season. Jesus has been pretty much anonymous, and Sterling has said that he doesn't want to cut his loan short and he's gonna fight to get the starting spot pretty much in Arsenal's team. He's gonna fight and get his minutes. So Saka needs a break, Havertz needs a break as well. As much as we don't rate him half the time, he also needs a break. We cannot run him into the ground. Oyedeji, we might play Oyedeji, but the biggest thing is, would he be ready? Would he be ready to play against Mark Gehi and center backs like that in a very, very tough and rough and very responsible game? Can we rely on him? Because let's be real, in a way we cannot rely any of these attackers for us to score goals. So putting in Oyedeji might as well be the trick. The thing is, though, we might risk him getting burnt out. That is also a big thing. We might be risking him getting burnt out. So I don't know how that is gonna go and where that could lead actually the mind state of a young player as well. Because we have seen how Arteta is treating Wanyeri. Odegaard was injured for like ages and he didn't start a single game in Premier League. Meanwhile, Miles Lewis-Skelly, who in the beginning of the season nobody said that everyone said Wanyeri will play, Skelly is gonna get odd minutes here or there. Yet when you look at how Arteta has treated, for example, Skelly has started 2 games in a row. He has put Skelly as a left back in the game against Man City when we got the 2-2 draw and more. So technically, no matter how we look at it, we want Wanyeri to play more, yet Arteta just plays Skelly much more, and Wanyeri is kind of left in the shadows a bit in that regard. It's a bit of a worrisome one. It's just like we yesterday looked at the table where it said basically at the chart where Arsenal are the 3rd team from the bottom in the Premier League to play players 22 years or younger in the minutes, like 600 odd minutes, and that's it. That is not good enough. Play the kids, they do better. That could be the case, to be honest, because these players, you can see it also in Wanyeri and Skelly, they play with no fear, they're more direct, they're energetic, they have desire to prove themselves and basically show that they could actually play, they could start. Big up Jimmy, big up Jimmy. I don't do early streams, almost ever. But since I have time off currently from work for 12 days, since with Christmas I took vacation in terms of vacation in terms of 23rd, 30th, the end of this week, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and everything, I can afford to do some day streams because nobody's home. Usually it's crowded here like no tomorrow and everything. I'm worried about Rashford comments. Arteta probably begging another. No, don't put that in the universe. I've seen this over my whole goddamn timeline. I also have seen that, oh, he could be available for cut price deal. He might take a wage cut and everything. I don't want another Havertz in the team. We have Havertz and Jesus already. Guys who we've paid nearly 600 grand. No, 550 grand combined as strikers. They cost us 110 million and we paid them 550 grand combined per week for us not to score goals and not do anything on the pitch. It's bad enough as it is. Why we would need the third one, the 3 musketeers, the 3 failures at the moment it would be like. Get your 4-0 laughing quick, my bad for believing you found some cojones. You think Arsenal will beat Crystal Palace 4-0? In the cup, you think Arsenal will beat Crystal Palace 4-0? At least there's no chance of getting Mudryk. Yeah, that's good. That is the only good thing. So Mudryk is gonna get banned, most likely, for 2 to 4 years, which means Arsenal is gonna sign Mudryk in 2 to 4 years. Basically, that's what we're saying, right? Ay, Dios mío. I don't want Mudryk or anyone else, to be honest. But yeah, I'm actually struggling a bit building this team. That Everton prediction. Yeah. I was saying it will be 3-1 Arsenal. Well, that went well. Like, that was pathetic performance. I'm not gonna lie, I'm predicting 2-1 win Arsenal in this Carabao Cup game. Whether it's gonna be full time, whether it's gonna be penalties, I have no idea. But I'm predicting an Arsenal win 2-1 in this game. Damn, this sun is actually helping my camera quality for a change. Not fisting my camera, that's kind of nice. Yeah, I think so too. He's probably... I can imagine Arteta actually might be doing something like this. He actually might be doing something like this potentially. Arteta might do something like this. Maybe. Just maybe we could see something like this. Maybe. 1-1 and we win pen, so 2-1 Arsenal, that's what I'm saying. I think we're gonna win 2-1. Whether it's gonna be full time, penalties, I have no idea. But to be honest, if we look at the game, it's gonna be tough, physical, and very, very on the edge. If we don't score early, right? So ultimately, if it goes to penalties, this is the worst case scenario for Arsenal because we are at Emirates. It's a 1-1. We go to penalties, and at that stage, as soon as we go to penalties, the tables instantly turn, and there is more pressure on Arsenal than there is on Crystal Palace. Although at the moment still pressure is more on Arsenal, but then it's even more pressure because it gives bigger chance of Crystal Palace to win that game if it goes to penalties. Palace play our kryptonite tactic 5 at the back, low block. We could lose on a set play depending on how... Exactly. We could do that. Eddie Nketiah brace against Arsenal. Imagine that. I'm predicting 2-1 Arsenal, and Eddie Nketiah scores 2 against Arsenal, and we lose 2-1. Imagine that. That Eddie Nketiah situation is still bothering me, because I kind of have a feeling he could score against us this evening. That is a bit of a worrisome situation right there. I'm not gonna lie. It is a bit worrying to say the least. But hey, I guess it is what it is. But yeah, it is a rough one currently. It is a rough one. Based on the recent performances, how Arsenal have been playing, the situations, the fact that we haven't scored from open play in 3 games in a row in Premier League. The teams know in Premier League at least how to nullify us. Champions League's a bit different. They are a bit more naive maybe. They don't scout us as much. And Monaco played right into our hands. They tried to play against us to some extent. They opened up gaps, and that basically led for Arsenal to score goals. In Premier League, none of the teams do that. None of them. No team is scared of Arsenal. They just park the bus, shut down the passing lane, shut down the gaps. Since we move balls slower than a snail moves, in a snail's pace, they also don't get kind of caught out of position. They are not forced to overcommit. They're always in the right spaces. And Arsenal have no chances to take any advantages from. And that was against United, that was against Fulham, and that was against Everton as well most of the time. And let's be real. And only set pieces saved us against United. Set pieces saved against us against Fulham. And against Everton, well, set pieces couldn't have saved us because Tarkovsky is phenomenal in there. Branthwaite as well. They both live for that stuff. And let's be real, Sean Dyche is amazing in defending set pieces as well. That's his bread and butter in general as well most of the time. Before Everton, I questioned Mikel's selection and subs. He panicked in that game. I think he heavily panicked in that game. Genuinely panicked in that game. The like-per-like subs. You could see that Everton came to Emirates never to win the game. They came here to play for a draw. At best. And Arsenal played right into their hands. From the get-go, pretty much. Everton had a chance for the Doucouré in the 2nd or 3rd minute. Gabriel blocked that shot with amazing slide. Instead of Doucouré it was a striker, he probably would have cut back and then finessed it far corner. And if we concede then, based on how we play the rest of the game, holy crap, there's no chance we're winning that game. Our captain as well, just like Nathan is saying. Captain, stinker and hooked. 22 times since Odegaard has been at Arsenal, he has been subbed off in situations where we need goals or assists to win or draw the game. 22 times since he's been here. That is also not good. Imagine Vieira gets hooked, dude. And I assume you mean Patrick Vieira as well. Whenever did Arsene Wenger play Patrick Vieira as a right back? Whenever did you see that? When did you see that? When Thierry Henry was playing number 8 in the team instead of even Edu to some extent. When was he doing that? When Freddie Ljungberg was playing left wing back. Like, make it make sense. Make it genuinely make sense. Like, I don't know. I genuinely don't know. The things that Odegaard did against Everton was embarrassing. 62 minutes. No goals. No assists. No chances created. No big chances created. And he missed one great chance to score. That was everything. He was generally sitting on zeros. He was binary code material 0000001. That was Odegaard's stats against Everton. The one stands for one chance missed as well. Not also a good thing. Exactly. Freddie Ljungberg playing left wing back, Robert Pires left wing back, right wing back, and everything. When have you seen that? Patrick Vieira as a right back, Lauren playing left back, Ashley Cole sits on the bench because he cannot invert. Imagine If Arteta was at Arsenal instead of Wenger, he would bench Ashley Cole because he cannot invert. He would get loaned out to Sociedad. That is the same thing. Like, it's insane. Arteta wants to play how he wants to play. I totally get that. But to some extent, you also have to look what player needs to be, what tactics needs to be done to kind of help the player as well. Not just get your own players that fit the system. Work with players you have to some extent. I hope, again, it doesn't. I hope Merino does something in the build-up. It's been almost a month since we spoke about what he actually does. He does nothing. He generally feels like a triple-decker bus, not even a double-decker bus, in the midfield. When he loses the ball, well, he turns around, it's already going counter in the opposite direction. Genuinely, he loses possession, opponents go, attack our goal. By the time he has turned around to sprint back, Saliba has made the tackle, ball is to Saka, and we are at their goal already. It's nuts. He cannot pass properly. He misplaces lots of passes. By the way, also rocking David Raya's garden in that regard. His ball distribution in the last 3-4 games has been shocking, to say the least. That has been hella shocking. Merino does nothing. He does nothing. The boy does nothing. Does the wash up and clean up and all that. Alicia Dix. No, what's that girl on Got Talent and everything that does the wash up and everything? Doesn't contribute to attack or defense. Yeah, Arteta basically in the last 3-4 years has signed, last 2 years specifically, has signed tall, physical players. That's what he's doing. He signed Calafiori, he signed Merino, he signed obviously Declan Rice, and players like that. He signs Havertz, tall, physical players. But let's be honest, Kiwior as well, he's tall and physical technically. But that is the thing. But that is also a thing. If you sign those players, it comes with a price. It generally comes with a price. You lose the technical ability, dribbling inside spaces, ball distribution, some pace and everything, agility, balance. You lose those things as soon as you sign tall physical players. You cannot have both. You have either or. And to some extent, I wish Arsenal had that or stuff. We had more smaller and technical players like Santi Cazorla, Bernardo Silva, David Silva. To that extent, small technical players. Because those players most of the time thrive actually in Premier League. That is also a case. Can't expect Raya to pick up. Yeah, that is the thing. Raya, you cannot expect him to pick out Pirlo level passes or outside of the foot Modric level passes. Recently even the simplest passes tends to mock up, and that also must change. Would playing Ethan at 9 be a pathway into the first team? Dude, Arteta yesterday said that in few years he can see Ethan playing as a number 9. I don't even want to talk about that. After yesterday's interview where he said that he counts Charity Shield as a cup, like FA Cup on the same level, I have no respect almost whatsoever left there. Because if he counts Charity Shields as cups, you might as well count Emirates Cup, which we won before the season, Saudi Cup we won 2 years ago, last year, something like that. You might as well count those as well. Like, you win the Saudi Cup, nobody's ever done that before. We should be the best ones in the world, no? Like, it's all going up in the flames. These interviews are getting more and more shocking by the week. The more we keep losing and dropping points, the more shocking they get. That is a bit of a worry, I'm not gonna lie. I generally not gonna lie. But that is the thing as well, by the way. You're saying this, would playing Ethan as a 9 be pathway into the first team for him? But that again means, if Arteta says in few years I can see him being a number 9, it means that there will be learning process, there will be molding him into a striker, there will be games and everything. Which again leads me to believe that we are not signing a striker in general, are we? Because if you are evolving our right wing, left wing, number 10 type of player into a number 9, it means that you have no consideration to sign a number 9 in general. If you are trying to actually force a player in the number 9 spot. And on top of that, you have a player who has been coached slowly to be a number 9 in Martinelli. Why not you use him then there? Why not use him as a number 9? Emery was coaching him to be a number 9. He has played for Brazil as a number 9. And he, under Mikel Arteta as well, on occasion, has been a number 9 in early stages. Why not coach him to be a number 9 then? Not mess up with Ethan at the moment. Like, that also is a big question that needs answering. But yeah, I guess it is what it is at the end of the day, huh? Cannot be too. Can't look too much into it, is it? But yeah, Arsenal versus Crystal Palace. If Saka doesn't play, right? I would give Saka a break, maybe put on Saka as a substitute. So for me, this actually could be the starting 11 for the game. Sterling and Trossard. It looks hella weird, this starting 11, I'm not gonna lie. But it actually could be the case. Skelly, Kivior, Saliba, Nichols is training with the first team. Maybe he will play, maybe he will be on the bench. Who knows? Let's us guess. But Timber needs a break. White is coming back sometime next year. I don't want to see Partey as a right back at all. So that only means Nichols. I know it's not the right Nichols, right? But they don't have actually the correct Nichols in here, or Aiden Heaven, so I just put this Nichols in there. Jorginho most likely will play as a 6 in my opinion, solely because he has played there against Preston, against Bolton as well. Merino is going to play next to him, I think, for the physicality. Very slow midfield, by the way, just putting it out there, with Eze and Lerma and Hughes playing in there. Odegaard has been injured every time we have had games in Carabao Cup before, against Preston, against Bolton, which now raises also a big question. Since Odegaard is back, will he play now? The question is, with Odegaard, the fact that he was injured in the 2 previous games we played against Bolton and Preston, he was injured. Would he play him now? Or would he stick with Ranieri because it has worked before? That is also a big question for me. Jorginho has been one of the best players this season. He has been to some extent, yeah. The only games when he has played full 90, isn't it against Preston and Bolton? Those are the only 2 games. So big questions need to be answered. Big questions need to be answered. But yeah, I guess it is what it is. We will have to wait and see this evening because it could get hella ropey. Hella ropey and hella dicey for Arsenal this week. Not this week, today. If we don't get things straight. The big question is, what kind of starting 11 will Mikel Arteta put out? Because I have small questions between Raya and Setford. Because Neto cannot play since he's cup side. That was a smart move by Arsenal. I have question marks about right back. Because I think Saliba will start. Gabriel will get a break because he just came back from a small knock. So Kivior will play center back. And Skelly has played the last 2 games as a starter as a left back. So I think he actually might start as a left back. We don't have any other one to play there. Unless we play Tierney, which Arteta basically is avoiding like it's a plague or something. So it is what it is. Number 6 most likely will be Jorginho, Merino as an 8. The question marks between Ranieri and Odegaard. Since Odegaard was always injured when we had the games against Preston and everything. So I think Arteta might actually stick with what has worked previously. So I think he will stick with Ranieri. Saka needs a break because we cannot run him into the ground this early already, although we are doing that every single year, but he deserves a break, so I would start Sterling, I'm not gonna lie. Jesus does jack shit up top, but Havertz also, as much as I don't rate Havertz, as many we don't rate Havertz, he also needs a break. Like, yes, there is that fact that he's a professional footballer, but the human factor also needs to play some role. He also needs a break, hence why I'm starting Jesus. And Trossard, well, Martinelli played on the weekend, that's why he's starting. Otherwise, I'm not gonna lie, wouldn't be against something like this. I genuinely wouldn't be against something like this. I kid you not, I wouldn't be against something like this. Unless Arteta does something weird, I wouldn't be against something like this. Not sure if it would work or not, but that also could be an option for Arsenal to play in that way. Potentially. Mikel will balance fitness against, and he doesn't know how to do it. If he knew that, Saka wouldn't play every single game, full 90 almost for the 3-4 years straight. If he knew how to do that. Because we would have proper backups, proper abilities, proper depth in the squad in multiple positions. But we don't. We genuinely don't. So, here we are. Super Mick the prick. To some extent. To some extent, based on interviews, feels that way. But yeah, ultimately, I'm going for 2-1 Arsenal. I think Arsenal will win the game. It will be a rough one, but we will get the job done. Not sure. I don't think it's gonna be a goal fest because I don't expect a goal fest in general in quarterfinals and in the Arsenal games in general recently. I don't expect goal fest, so I think it will be a 2-1 narrow win, but we're gonna get the job done. Then we're gonna move into semifinals. Who we gonna get there obviously depends on a draw, and we will have to wait and see for that. But yeah, 1-1. You have to pick a winner because it goes straight to penalties. It goes straight to penalties. So Arsenal or Palace, 2-1. You have to pick one because it goes straight to penalties, unfortunately. Arsenal pens, exactly. So still, you're stealing my result 2-1. Either it's going to be full-time or penalties. Somehow, Arsenal should be able to find a way. Although we said that against Everton, and look how that turned out. And Fulham as well, and look how that turned out. But I guess it is what it is. But yeah, genuinely, streaming midday is hella weird. Because it's sun is shining, everything's fine, and it's not dark, and it's not an evening, and everything. But yeah, I kind of enjoy this. If I'll have time tomorrow or day after tomorrow and everything to stream during the day, I definitely will do that. But yeah, for today, that will be it. I'm predicting 2-1 Arsenal win. Somehow we're gonna, I think, stink our way through the game. Hope you enjoy the game as much as you can. Take care, stay safe, enjoy the day. You've been fantastic. Big up Nathan, big up Ojo, big up everyone else who have watched, commented, liked, subscribed. If you still haven't liked the thing, subscribe. Everything still aiming for 400 subscribers before the end of this calendar year. But yeah, for today, I am out. Hopefully Arsenal win today, but still, I'd set out.